and I think we have a good chance of winning New York. We're going to give it a big play. We're going to the South Bronx to do a rally. We're going to be doing a rally at Madison Square Garden, we believe. We think we're signing Madison Square Garden to do it. We're going to have a big rally.
He finally listened. I'm taking credit for that idea. I don't care. All right, folks. So as you know, Donald Trump, unable to campaign for the most part, has been stuck in New York City for the past couple of weeks because of this completely sham and ridiculous Alvin Bragg trial. And of course, we'll talk about some of that today. But what I mainly want to focus on is this idea, this concern a lot of people on our side have had, which is, well, if he is not able to campaign, if he's going to spend all of election season stuck in court, is that going to give an advantage to Joe Biden? Is that going to hurt the Trump campaign? But it seems to me, at least at the current moment, that it is having the opposite effect. And I think this is something a lot of conservatives a little bit candidly warned the left about a year ago when this Alvin Bragg indictment first came out, which is that this entire thing is going to backfire, because not only is this being used, in fact, as we'll show you in a second, as a positive campaign tool for Donald Trump, but even the Democrats' own people, and I'm talking about the residents of New York City, what's going on? You're seeing some of these videos are actually starting to become some of the loudest and most vocal Trump supporters in the country, and in the dead middle of New York, you never expected that to happen. But first of all, I mean, let's talk about this. Earlier today, Michael Whatley, who is the new chair of the RNC, announced that for every single day Trump has been in court, the RNC has raised $1 million from small dollar donors. We're not even talking about the donor class here, right? Every time he's stuck in court, for every single day, his own supporters are donating $1 million to the campaign. And take a listen to Michael Whatley saying that himself.
What we've seen, though, is that every day that President Trump has been in court, he's been getting $1 million or more in small dollar donations that are coming in online.
So, you know, all this talk about how Joe Biden is out fundraising Trump. Remember, he did that fundraiser a couple weeks ago where he was with Bill Clinton and Barack Obama, and the campaign was celebrating, hey, Joe Biden raised like $25 million in one night. And then Donald Trump countered about a week later by raising about twice that amount of money. Okay, so for all of that talk, you say you're doing a great job in fundraising. You're kicking Donald Trump's butt, I should say, as the Biden campaign. Well, clearly, you're shooting yourself in the foot by doing this. But of course, it goes much further than that, because campaigns are not won by fundraising. Yes, fundraising is, of course, important. But as some of you may remember, Donald Trump beat Hillary Clinton in 2016 while being out fundraised. It's about the popularity among the people. You can, to a certain extent, buy votes in the United States, but we know that only goes so far. So what has been the optics? Where do the people stand? Well, you would expect, of course, I mean, there's a reason why New York is bringing the indictments against him in the first place, that New York is an overwhelmingly liberal place. You know, it's a type of city where Donald Trump will go and he is absolutely not welcome at all. And don't get me wrong, I'm not spreading some type of conspiracy theory that New York is secretly a Republican safe haven, but optics are optics, messages sent are messages sent, and check out the response that Donald Trump has been getting every single time he's been in New York, because you would expect, mass protests, mass people against Donald Trump. Well, it turns out a lot of New Yorkers are starting to change some of their past affiliations. Take a look.
We love Trump! We love Trump! We love Trump! USA! USA!
It was great to see the president come and engaging with the blue-collar worker of New York City. We basically built New York. The union movement has made the middle class. So my members right now, I put out a poll in my union. President Trump is leading Joe Biden 3-1 on my presidential poll out of my 9,000 members.
How was it seeing the former president?
Oh, it was absolutely incredible to see him on the streets of Manhattan, meeting up with, you know, your working class folks here, the type that are out working hard at 6 a.m. It was my first time ever ever meeting him, and it was really dope. So,
What's your message to Joe Biden?
my message to Joe Biden: I haven't seen you anywhere. I hope New York turns red because we're not voting for you.
And then, of course, there is that viral video of a certain New York union worker who had some kind words for Donald Trump and not so kind words for Joe Biden.
What's it like seeing so many Republicans in Manhattan, so many Trump supporters in Manhattan? Does that surprise you?
No, not at all. It's turning now. Trump's turn again.
What's your message to Joe Biden?
F you.
So with that said, with all the videos you are seeing, with all the obvious evidence that there is plenty of grassroots support for Donald Trump, not just in the state of New York, but yes, dead in the middle of New York City, here's the idea that I have had, okay, which is, again, I'm not here to spread the idea that we're going to flip New York red in November, okay? And we'll talk about that a little bit later in this video, and we'll address whether it's possible or what can be done about that. But I think the bigger point here, too, is just that numbers are numbers. There are plenty of clearly Trump supporters in New York City and plenty of people who are energized enough, which has led me to the conclusion, what I've been saying for a long time, is that Donald Trump, regardless of whether he's going to win New York, needs to do a rally in New York City, okay? Because, again, you know, you may say that's a waste of time because of the election. Well, guess what else is a waste of time? Him being stuck in New York because of these trials. So at least weaponize that against the enemy in some regard. And my thinking has been this. Look, again, it's not about the election necessarily in terms of winning New York or winning New York City, but imagine the message of defiance it would send, okay? For Donald Trump, in the heart of New York, in Alvin Bragg's city, he fills up the Barclays Center, or he fills up Madison Square Garden, or heck, he fills up both of those, and in the middle of his trial, does a gigantic campaign rally right in the middle of New York, right in the middle of Alvin Bragg's city, of Letitia James's city, of Kathy Hochul's state and city. The message, again, that sort of rebellion it would send across the country. Okay, I think that would be some of the most amazing optics you could possibly get. Arguably, it could be a watershed moment, I think, in this campaign that could define potentially him winning the election, is just, you know, standing up and doing that. So this is something I've been saying for a while. Do a campaign rally in New York City. In the past couple of weeks, Trump has been doing these little campaign stops. As you saw, he's there with the people. I've been saying, why don't you do a rally? And I've been tweeting that very publicly. So I don't know necessarily if maybe, you know, some of Trump's advisors or people follow me and he got this idea or they thought of it themselves. Regardless, it's not about who's here to take credit for it or not, even though I'm going to say in this video that Donald Trump listened to me. And I truly am his top advisor, right? But Donald Trump has finally announced he's going to be doing that campaign rally in potentially Madison Square Garden. And like I said, I think that would be a huge thing. But take a look.
And I think we have a good chance of winning New York. We're going to give it a big play. We're going to the South Bronx to do a rally. We're going to be doing a rally at Madison Square Garden, we believe. We think we're signing Madison Square Garden to do it. We're going to have a big rally honoring.
Again, folks, this is exactly what we need, okay? It's not even about winning that state in the election. It's about sending a message of hope, right? Because that's the thing, is that, you know, this is not the 1980s anymore. This is not a world where if you do a campaign rally in one city, only the people of that city really know about it. No, we have the internet. We're a very interconnected world, okay? If you do a rally in New York City, a lot of people are going to see it. A lot of people are going to be a part of it, virtually speaking, okay? And that hope, the energy, the discrediting it would do to, again, Alvin Bragg and all these Democrats in the heart of their own city, when you show, at least optically speaking, it seems like you are even more popular in their city than they are. That's big. That'll be very important. I think, again, that can be something that elsewhere shapes the election. But let's talk about New York itself, because I think now this is a question a lot of people are having is, well, you're seeing the positive reception in New York that Donald Trump is getting. We know that New York City is certainly a place where people are overrun hugely. That city is a disaster, right? And I think, by the way, this is part of the reason why the leftists in New York have not had nearly the energy to protest Trump that they did, say, 4 years ago, and also why a lot of New Yorkers who probably didn't vote for him in 2020 are now out in the streets supporting him is two things. This is a city that's been devastated by the migrant crisis, okay, and Eric Adams, a complete joke, Kathy Hochul, all those people, and also crime. We know extensively about the ridiculous bail reform and all this nonsense in New York that's made it a completely dangerous and unsafe city and place to be. And I think these two things combined are adding up in a lot of other places, not just New York, but adding up to where a lot of people who previously were your typical anti-Trump NPCs are starting to say, hey, maybe that guy 4 years ago had a little bit of a point, okay? And you know, I know a lot of anti-Trumpers, they go around and they'll ask questions like, well, Donald Trump is clearly going to lose because who has he added to his coalition from 4 years ago? I mean, everyone just hates him. He's too unpopular. To which I say, I mean, I don't know about you guys. I personally know people in my own family, for instance, that were big anti-Trumpers, big Democrats 4 years ago. And it is because of those two issues. It is because of crime. It is because of the migrant crisis, immigration and all that. Maybe the economy, marginally speaking, is a third reason that are now saying, I don't know, I might have to vote Republican this time around, right? So that said, again, let's ask the question. Is New York potentially in play in 2024? Here's what I would say about it is, you know, never say never, okay? In a very crazy scenario, who knows? I mean, crazy things happen in elections. I, of course, would not say that it's the most likely outcome, right? But I do think potentially New York is a place that could come within maybe 15 points, 10 points, right? I think it's undeniable. It will be a lot closer than it normally is. I think you have pretty obvious proof that currently Donald Trump is the most popular Republican, with the exception of maybe Lee Zeldin, in New York and in New York City since at least Rudy Giuliani. I mean, when's the last time you've seen a Republican get that reception in the city, right? So there's that to take into account. There's also to take into account that even if Donald Trump doesn't win the state of New York, the House majority is important. And of course, there's a lot of swing districts in New York, including George Santos's old seat that, hey, Trump being very popular there, Republicans doing well, could hand us or keep us in control of that House majority. And let's also talk about a state like New Jersey, right? I think if New York's not necessarily in play, you could see a situation where New Jersey is, right? Because these are both states obviously next to each other, very similar culture, very similar attitudes. What happens in New York does affect New Jersey, but also New Jersey, a lot more possible to go Republican, right, than New York. If you'll remember, about a decade ago, a certain guy named Chris Christie was the governor there back before he was so universally ridiculed as a rhino. But again, don't forget, he won the governorship there. In 2021, Republicans, if you'll remember, came very close to winning the governorship again. And so I think if any state is necessarily in play because of all this, hey, could be New Jersey. Donald Trump also doing a campaign rally there. We'll just have to see, right? We'll just have to see. Anything you can get, you know, you're spending all this time in that region of the country. You don't have the option at the current moment to go anywhere else. You might as well make a play for it. I mean, that's what I say. By the way, speaking of Chris Christie, let's just end this video here on a laugh. Amidst all of this, you wonder what Chris Christie, if anyone really cares, is thinking about all of this. Well, here is him without an ounce of self-awareness saying that if you look at Trump physically right now, he looks terrible. Yes, this is Chris Christie saying that Donald Trump looks physically terrible. Take a look.
A criminal trial is a really awful thing to go through. And if you look at Trump physically right now, he looks terrible.
Do you have no shame, Chris? You couldn't have at least had someone else say that? Anyways, guys, the point of today's video is this, okay? I'm not here to downplay the severity of the situation going on in New York, okay? Yes, it is a very bad precedent for our country. It's something that's very dangerous. Absolutely 100%. With that said, though, okay, and by the way, I'm not really confident he'll get a fair trial, and we may do a video tomorrow talking about that. But with that said, I think if you're going to have any optimism amidst the situation, okay, at least take a little bit of solace in knowing that it's not adding to the credibility of the regime. It's only backfiring against them, okay? Because look what's happened in response. Are Trump's poll numbers slipping seriously? Not really. I mean, they talked a little bit about a Biden surge over the past couple of months, and now it's basically leveled off. So that's not currently happening, as a matter of fact, at the moment. His fundraising is up. His popularity, at least in the streets, seems to be up. The case itself is not that strong. Even a lot of liberal pundits are talking about that. We'll just have to see. With that said, folks, be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Do you think Donald Trump should also do a campaign rally in Madison Square Garden? Be sure to let me know. And until next time, Alpha Moves Only, God bless. Be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and peace.